with us tonight, folks. Thanks for watching. The Obama campaign has just released video of the president addressing his staff in Chicago. The president gets very emotional. It's remarkable video. We'll bring it to you in just a moment. But President Obama doesn't have a lot of time to bask in his electoral victory. The fight for the middle class starts right now in Congress. The confetti was still on the floor after the president's victory celebration in Chicago, and House Speaker John Boehner was already hinting at another major fight in Congress over taxes and spending.
In order to garner Republican support for new revenues, the president must be willing to reduce spending and shore up entitlement programs that are the primary drivers of our debt. Mr. President, this is your moment. We're ready to be led, not as Democrats or Republicans, but as Americans.
President Obama will make a statement tomorrow in the East Room of the White House. He will address the so-called fiscal cliff. The automatic spending cuts and tax hikes kick in January 1st if Washington can't reach a deal. A lot of people fear it's going to be a repeat of what happened in 2011 when the Republicans held the debt ceiling hostage to get what they wanted. But things, I guess you could say, are a little bit different this time around. We are 2 days removed from a landslide victory for the president in the Electoral College, as well as a new 55-45 Democratic Senate majority. The president is also the winner of the popular vote. Did you hear that, Republicans? He is the winner of the popular vote with the majority of the country supporting him. The only area of government where the Democrats fell short was in the Congress, the House of Representatives. The Senate Minority Leader believes the Republican control of the House should be enough to deny President Obama a mandate. Mitch McConnell made a statement saying the voters have not endorsed the failures or excesses of the president's first term. They have simply given him more time to finish the job they asked him to do, to get together with a Congress that restored balance to Washington after 2 years of one-party control. Now, not so fast. The actual number of votes cast for House seats favored the Democrats by 500,000 votes. This is no mandate for House Republicans, but of course they're trying to swing a big stick again. There's a reason Republicans were able to capture more House seats with a majority of the vote. For example, look at Pennsylvania in 2008. Take a good look at that. Where's the red? About the middle of the state. A lot of blue districts, right, on the east and the west. Now take a look at Pennsylvania in 2012. Wow. What happened? There's a lot more red. It's because Democratic districts have been gerrymandered into unwinnable seats. You know, those Republicans are pretty slick. Reliable blue districts in the southwestern and southeastern part of Pennsylvania were combined into comfortable red districts. Real Clear Politics reported that last year, Pennsylvania underwent the gerrymander of the decade. This is what happens when Republicans take control of state houses. Elections have consequences, and all politics is local. Despite Democrats having an electoral majority, Republicans are able to cling to control of the House. This is not enough to override the political capital picked up by the president on Tuesday. Americans voted for an agenda of what? Strong social programs and income equality in America. They want the president to deliver on his campaign.
I want to reform the tax code so that it's simple, fair, and asks the wealthiest households to pay higher taxes on incomes over $250,000. The same rate we had when Bill Clinton was president, the same rate we had when our economy created nearly 23 million new jobs, the biggest surplus in history, and a whole lot of millionaires to boot.
Now, that was before the election. That was in the, let's see, I think they had some convention. Very clear where President Obama was and very clear where the American people voted. Americans want progressive action by their government, including higher taxes on the wealthiest Americans. This is a pivotal moment for the Democrats, and I don't think that they can cave in. The Republicans are already trying to make it hard for them. President Obama reached out to Speaker Boehner and Senator McConnell right after the election victory. He said it. He was told that they were already asleep. Today, Speaker Boehner told ABC News tax increases are still off the table.
Putting increased revenues on the table, but through reforming our tax code. And I would do that if the president were serious about solving our spending problem and trying to secure our entitlement program.
Revenue through reforming our tax code? This is the same stuff voters just rejected. This was a bright spot in Boehner's interview. He was asked if Republicans will still pursue full repeal of Obamacare.
I think the election changes that. It's pretty clear that the president was reelected. Obamacare is the law of the land.
But you won't be spending the time next year trying to repeal Obamacare.
There certainly may be parts of it that we believe need to be changed. We may do that. No decisions at this point.
Well, wait a minute. A short while later, Boehner walked back his answer on Twitter. Obamacare is the law of the land, but it's raising costs and hurting small businesses. Our goal remains full repeal. Looks like Boehner is still scared of those Tea Partiers in the caucus, don't you think? Don't forget, President Obama was close to persuading John Boehner on a grand bargain last year before Boehner buckled to the Tea Party pressure. President Obama and the Democrats, I guess you could say this time around, they really don't need Boehner. They hold not all the cards, but more cards. And the American people clearly are behind this president. The American people elected a more progressive Senate. You can't deny that, including corporate reformers like Elizabeth Warren in Massachusetts. Senator Patty Murray, who led the Democratic Senatorial Campaign Committee, says her party is ready to link arms and jump off the cliff.
So if we can't get a good deal, a balanced deal that calls on the wealthy to pay their fair share, then I will absolutely continue this debate into 2013, rather than lock in a long-term deal this year that throws middle-class families under the bus.
Okay, so here we go. President Obama himself said that he will not let a bill pass his desk extending the Bush tax cuts for the wealthiest Americans.
Will you veto any legislation that extends all of the Bush tax cuts, even to what you call the wealthy?
Yes, and the reason is we can't afford it. I mean, it will cost us $1 trillion.
So here we are, 2 days after the election, and we're already in a vital period for President Obama's next 4 years. We got to go back to the old tax rates if we want to deal with the deficit reduction, and we're not willing to bargain with the big three to get there. That's where I think we ought to be. This is what we voted for on Tuesday. Fasten your seatbelts, America. This one's going to come upon us real fast. Get your cell phones out. We want to know what you think. Tonight's question: does the president's victory give him more leverage in the economic fight? Text A for yes, text B for no to 622-639. And you can always go to our blog at ed.msnbc.com. We'll bring you the results later on in the show. Joining me tonight is Independent Senator Bernie Sanders from Vermont. Senator, great to have you with us tonight. Are you surprised? Good to be with you. You bet. Are you surprised Republicans are already announcing their intentions to obstruct? I mean, how else do we interpret that interview that Mr. Boehner gave?
No. These guys, the Republican Party is now an extreme right-wing party. It is owned by their campaign contributors and the millionaires and billionaires of this country. It doesn't surprise me. But the American people have been very, very clear on this issue. When you talk about deficit reduction, Ed, every single poll that I have seen, what this election is about, is the American people are saying, no, we're in the midst of a horrendous Wall Street-caused recession. We are not going to cut Social Security, which, by the way, as Harry Reid just reminded us, has nothing to do with the deficit. We're not going to cut Medicare. We're not going to cut Medicaid. Yes, at a time when the wealthiest people in this country are doing phenomenally well and their tax rates are low, we are going to ask the rich, we are going to ask corporate America. 1 out of 4 corporations in this country, profitable corporations, pays nothing in taxes. We're losing over $100 billion a year because of these tax havens in the Cayman Islands that corporate America and the wealthy take advantage of. Yes, we're going to do deficit reduction, but we will be damned, especially after this election, if we're going to balance the budget on the backs of the elderly, the children, the sick, and the poor. And I hope very much that the Democrats stand tall on this issue. I hope that the president is prepared to go to every state in this country and ask the people, no matter how conservative that state is, do you really believe we should give tax breaks to billionaires and cut Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid? And Ed, you know what I think? I don't think there's one state in this country where the people will say, yes, that makes sense.
So, Senator, you want President Obama to hit the road after the first of the year and go sell the American people, just like Bush did in 2005 when he won re-election. He went around trying to privatize Social Security. What do you think the president should do with this capital?
I think on this issue, Ed, on this issue of whether we do deficit reduction in a way that is fair, or whether we give more tax breaks to millionaires and billionaires, as John Boehner wants, whether we cut programs that struggling people desperately depend upon, I think we have the overwhelming majority of the people on our side. And I think if we cannot reach an agreement in D.C., which is very likely because the Republicans will continue to obstruct, I think the president has got to go around this country and say to those people in Oklahoma, in Mississippi, in Alabama, guess what? This is the issue. Tax breaks for billionaires, you're going to cut Social Security. What do you think? Right? Call up your congressman. Write to your senator. We can win this debate.
You think that would turn Speaker Boehner? I mean, it's very clear. He does not want a revenue component. He does not want taxes going up on the wealthiest Americans. The president says that he is not going to sign a bill unless it has that in it. So where are we?
Well, I'll tell you what, Ed. If I was Speaker Boehner, if I were a Republican congressman or senator, and my telephone lines were bouncing off the hook because our people are saying, do not vote to cut Social Security. Stop protecting billionaires. You know what? I would get a little bit nervous. Now, I am already working with a number of senior groups and veterans groups who are very clear on this issue. There's a petition out there. We have one on my website, sanders.senate.gov. There are other petitions. Millions of people have got to get involved in this fight. We have the people on our side. They have got to stand up and fight back and take on the big money interests who want to do deficit reduction in an extremely unfair way.
Would you characterize this period of politics between the end of this election and the first of the year as intense as it's going to get?
This is a very, very significant moment, not only for millions and millions of people, but for the future of politics in this country.
Okay.
Barack Obama won this election. The Democrats won. They have now got to stand with the working class, the middle class of this country, and not allow Wall Street and big money interests to run over us.
Senator Bernie Sanders, great to have you with us tonight. Congratulations on your victory, Senator. Great to have you with us. Thank you. Remember to answer tonight's question there at the bottom of the screen. Share your thoughts with us on Twitter and on Facebook. We want to know what you think. Up next, raw emotion from the president as he addresses his campaign staff in Chicago just earlier today. The campaign just released this video, and you're going to want to see it. You're not going to see it anywhere else. Stay tuned.